Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 31 has just been released, and this chapter is another setup chapter, but we are finally moving towards the climax of this arc, as we will come to find out later on in this chapter. However, what we do see in this chapter are a lot of moments that are going to be dictating what will come after this arc, as a lot will be changing in my personal opinion. But starting off with the chapter cover, we see that Ada is the chapter cover. I really do like this chapter cover due to the simple fact of the imagery that is being used. We see that Ada is almost behind Boruto 2 Blue Vortex logo, just showcasing the fact that she is hiding from the Mamushi clones, and we come to figure out exactly how. And the title for this chapter is Shut Up, but it could be a different title based off what you end up seeing from the officials. But the side text that we receive is Kashinkoji tries to kill Kobu. What will Inojin decide? And we made a couple theories about what exactly we could see Inojin do in response to Kashinkoji. And you guys, a lot of people, they know my stance. I always believe that Kobu shouldn't die, and that's what we come to find out in this chapter, as we end up starting the chapter right where we left off, with the Mamushi clones who are angered by Kobu's actions, as we saw that Kashinkoji ended up using a toad to attack one of the Mamushi clones. So due to them having low intelligence, they can't really decipher who exactly was the one who did it, and since Kobu is the only one there, they are going towards Kobu. Kashinkoji tells Inojin that it is best that he leaves, because if Kobu ends up dying while Inojin is in his body, Inojin will end up dying too. And what we see Inojin have to decide is, okay, are you going to basically let Kobu die or save your own life? And that is a very hard decision, and I know a lot of us, we would have let Kobu die. A lot of people would have let Kobu die, and honestly, in this specific moment, I wouldn't really blame you. What we see Inojin do, and really why Inojin is growing on me. Inojin is really a character who, out of all the characters I would have expected to get shine in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, I never really expected Inojin to be that guy. But over these recent chapters, over this arc in specific, I really come to appreciate Inojin's character due to the simple fact that we see him not take the easy option. He's not going to let a citizen of Konoha, regardless of whether we believe what he is doing is wrong, at the end of the day he is still doing his job, and he is innocent in this matter. He didn't actually commit an action that isn't understandable. He doesn't know anything about omnipotence and what is going on, so his actions line up perfectly. So Inojin decides not to let him die in vain, and he saves Kobu's life, but in the process he is risking his own life. Well, then we move on to Ida, and due to the simple fact that Inojin is right now in Kobu's body and is not using the transmission jutsu that allows everybody to be connected and get information on what is happening, Damien is curious as to why Ida is not using her Saragon, which then we are told is due to the fact that Mamushi is most likely going to be able to see Ada. A lot of people called me crazy for saying that this is going to be the case, that a major way that Ida could end up being caught is the fact that if she uses the Saragon to look for Mamushi, Mamushi will instantly know her location due to how her ability works. And this is exactly what Ida is describing in this moment right here. She explains that Mamushi has an ability to easily recognize whoever is looking at him. And that's the major reason why whenever we saw the Mamushi clones, some of them kept talking about the fact of getting multiple eyes surrounding them, getting multiple people to gaze at Mamushi so that they will instantly know if it's Ida or not, because that's the way that one of Mamushi's abilities end up working. And Ada is pretty smart. I thought that she was gonna be dumb and fall for the easy trick. She was gonna fall for the hezi and look for Mamushi while Inojin was busy controlling Kobu's body, but she has great levels of deductional reasoning, and with that she makes the smart decision of not using her Saragon. But a lot of people kept talking about the fact that we didn't really get to see Sarada do too much in recent chapters, that oh, why is she not attacking? But due to all the confusion that is taking place, we see that Sarada is ready to take actions of her own. What we see is quite interesting. One of the Mamushi clones is getting irritated due to the simple fact that they are not able to find Ida. And why is this happening? He's getting irritated, especially due to the low level of intelligence. And we see that it is playing a big role in the cohesion of the group as they end up fighting against each other. And this ends up causing the Mamushi clones to go a bit on a rampage, use fire style, all these different sorts of abilities. And Sarada ends up noting that their intelligence drops so much that they are now starting to riot between each other. And we see some Konoha citizens that are in its vicinity, and due to that very same fact, Sarada is kind of caught off guard. But what we do see is that we move on to Sai and Shikamaru. And in their conversation, we end up getting Sai's perspective on everything that is going on. And Sai wants to be clued in on everything that Shikamaru knows, as we do know that Sai has been around almost multiple different characters that have broken out of omnipotence. Obviously, it's not a real breaking out of omnipotence because they can't, but they have been able to figure out that there are inconsistencies in their memories. And Sai has been around multiple characters like that, Amato and Shikamaru to be specific. And this is exactly what Sai is figuring out, as he now wants to be informed of everything that is going on, the secret plan that Shikamaru seems to have ever since the Sand mission, where Shikamaru had information from this random source that he didn't reveal, and he wants Shikamaru to tell him exactly what he needs him to do. So Sai has now joined Shikamaru's ranks. He has joined the group of people who are basically now willing to collaborate with Boruto for the sake of the village. He doesn't know that Boruto is playing a major role in this, but he is willing to do whatever is necessary for the village. But just like I was discussing when it came to Sarada and the various riots that were going on, due to their lack of intelligence, at first they didn't want to harm the Konoha citizens, but now we see them attempting to harm the Konoha citizens. And Sarada is simply not going to let this happen. We see that Sarada ends up using her Mangekyo Sharingan. Hey yo, Sarada, man, Sarada just looks too cool right now. I'm sorry, this ability, I really like the way it is used. I really like the way that Sarada can fly. It really makes Sarada look actually important and actually have crazy abilities. Like, let's really compare old Sarada pre-time skip, when she was not included in the code arc when it comes to the major fights, and now we see Sarada now. It's like with every single fight that is going on, you're always wondering how Sarada would do versus these opponents. And I was one of the big pushers of the fact that I do believe that Sarada's almost perfect battle would be against these type of opponents that have multiple various clones like we see with Mamushi, as Sarada, using her gravitational powers, she is capable of lifting the Mamushi clones. And it's not just one Mamushi clones, it's multiple Mamushi clones, and they're not able to do that. Mangekyo Sharingan Orihime. And she ends up just by simply looking at you. That's all she needs. Obviously, if she doesn't see you, the ability is not going to work. So maybe there are counters to that, but if she looks at you and she is capable of seeing you physically, then you are enwrapped in that ability. And that's exactly what we end up seeing, as one of the Mushi clones tried to come towards Sarada's back, but all Sarada really had to do was turn back and look at them. And then we end up seeing like 16 Mamushi clones who are enveloped in the orbs. And using her Mangekyo Sharingan Orihime, she's easily able to take care of all of those clones. So there are some extra clones that are still around, and we end up seeing Delta go crazy. I love this sequence. Delta also has a lovely fighting style. One thing about Ikimoto is I love the different types of fighting styles that we get. I think that Ikimoto is very underrated when it comes to fights and his choreography, but he's up there with the greats. He's really up there with the greats. People might complain, oh, the backgrounds, but that's not the most important part to me when it comes to manga paneling. I should make a video describing some of the best fights that Ikimoto has drawn, and exactly why we see that Ikimoto ends up following a lot of Toriyama's past and influences when it comes to Dragon Ball. And that's why in manga wise, Ikimoto's fights are very good. But we just see multiple examples of this in this fight. So we see Delta use her lasers, and she's easily able to take care of the Mamushi clones, so she's pretty strong. And then, yeah, we see Sarada has used her Mangekyo Sharingan Orihime, but this time she doesn't actually fall and completely go unconscious. She ends up falling and lands on her knees, and she's holding her head, which means that she's definitely feeling the effects of her Mangekyo Sharingan. And then when we look, we see that she is starting to go blind. And those are some of the things that we have seen multiple characters express when they use the Mangekyo Sharingan. I have a video specifically discussing this, specifically discussing how she's going to be able to deal with the Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. And the theory I'm going to discuss in that video is something that most of you guys probably never heard about, but it's going to be absolutely peak. So in this video, let me know your personal ways that you believe that Sarada is going to overcome the Mangekyo Sharingan blindness. As she's still going to have her Mangekyo Sharingan, she's going to have to deal with it some way, shape, or form, and we just have to find it before it is explained in the manga. So you guys just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But we go back to the Kobu scene, and we do see that Kobu ends up falling, and we believe Inojin is there, but then we see a panel where I don't know if it is Kashin Koji or if it is Inojin who brings himself out, but we have Inojin who comes back, and we have Kashin Koji who basically tells him that it's over. It's simply over for Kobu and to reuse the jutsu and start working on fighting the other opponents, as Kobu has to die. But Inojin doesn't just do that. He uses the mind transferring formation, the ability he mastered, but he tells Lord 8 and Sai to basically go and help out Mamushi. And this is exactly what we see them do, as Mamushi is now starting to burn. And this is the panel I was talking about in the leaks. Look at this panel for Mamushi, bro. This dude is ugly, bro. This is exactly what I'm saying. Like, look at this face, bro. This is like, imagine you wake up and you see Mamushi. I'd be terrified. I'd never be the same person if I saw Mamushi laughing like that. And you know his breath is terrible. You know he eats the worst type of foods. You know, like, just looking at Mamushi, you know he doesn't take care of himself. Like, there's no dignity with that person. But just as a lot of people ended up predicting, we see a Boruto who ends up coming to save the day. Boruto comes, and in one slash, he ends up taking care of all the Mamushi clones. In this moment of Boruto using the karma, it almost reminds me of Future Trunks using some sort of ninjutsu on some Naruto type timing when he has a sword. This is what it reminds me of a bit, because it almost seems like Boruto is using a jutsu or a hand sign when he's using the karma, and it's really cool to see. But he ends up absorbing the blow, and we see that Sai, Shikamaru, and Boruto, everybody is there, and a Kobu who really doesn't understand what is going on. And Shikamaru explains to him that this is a senju and that Shikamaru has to do his job now. Exactly. Kobu can't be interfering with that. Kobu seems to be agreeing, but he says that the interrogation isn't over. So I don't know if this means that, oh, like they're gonna keep interrogating Shikamaru while everything is going, or this is going to be brought back to after this arc, to after this battle is done. And this is what I think is most likely the main option that is the story is going to go with, that after this arc, Shikamaru is going to be relieved of his position. Personally, that's what I think is going to happen, especially after Kobu has a bit of time to sit down with everything, as he says that everything will be brought to light. And there was a theory that Kashin Koji wanted Boruto to save Kobu so that it will slowly start to vindicate Boruto's name. And that was a pretty interesting theory that I didn't think about. I predicted that Boruto was going to save them, basically due to the fact that it is something in Boruto's character to do. And Boruto himself shares a similar sentiment to everybody who had the theory that Kashin Koji was trying to get Boruto to save Kobu so that he could slowly be so that it could vindicate Boruto slowly and maturely. And Boruto asked this question to Kashin Koji, but Kashin Koji doesn't allude to that being the case. He says that Boruto's action was a solution, but that man must die, and that's his opinion on the matter. So it doesn't really answer the question in full detail, but it does allude to the fact that, yeah, I guess you saved him, but he has to die. That is the future that I need to take place. So that's what Kashin Koji is thinking. But now that everything has happened, now that everything is done and dusted when it comes to the Kobu situation, and we'll definitely be coming back to that, we have a Shikamaru who basically says that everybody, okay, plan has been worked out, this is what we're going to be doing. Everybody is basically going to be heading to Ada, and what they're going to do at this point is basically use Ada as decoy to draw all of the Mamushi clones to that location and take care of all of them. That is the goal at this point. And we see Damien that seems to be quite happy and geeked. So we're most likely going to be seeing Damien, multiple different characters. A lot of Mamushi's power is put under question in this chapter due to the simple fact that we have characters being able to easily defeat him. But one thing I would say is that imagine you have to deal with that character all by yourself. It's a lot easier to think that Mamushi is weak because multiple characters are able to defeat him, but you have to keep in mind that Mamushi is still one person, and he is able to cause all of Konoha to have to work and coordinate together to be able to deal with him, regardless of the fact that they're able to take him down. So in a 1v1, we would definitely see Mamushi use his clone ability, and it would be a lot harder for other people to be able to deal with it. We even saw Boruto at times have trouble with the Mamushi clones when he had to deal with it all by himself. So yes, Mamushi's powers may not be the greatest, but when they say that he's above code, I think they're referring to all the abilities that he also has. And with this ability of being able to multiply, if you are dealing with that person alone, it is a lot harder than having 5, 6, or even 7 characters being able to fight technically just one character at the end of the day. And so what we're going to be seeing next is, as the side text says, that we are heading towards the final stage of this fight. I'm very curious to see what's going to be happening next chapter. This chapter was a cool 7 out of 10 in my opinion. Let me know what you rate this chapter in the comment section below. It's been your boy Dynasty, and I'm out, bruh.